Okay, so I'm going to show you how to sew up our pre-sewn mask kit. First of all, you'll notice there's holes where it's not sewn at the corners of the rectangle, and also there's a big one in the middle. So you're going to take the big one in the middle and use it to turn the mask right side out. And then you can take like a chopstick. What I'm going to use is a pair of pliers, and I'm just going to poke the edges out so it makes a square or rectangular-ish shape there. But I don't want to poke too hard because it is a hole in the corner and it will just kind of poke right on through, which isn't the end of the world, but I would prefer not to have that happen. We're going to use those holes in the corner here to put the edges of the elastic in, which I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to do all four corners. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and, since I poked that out, I'm going to go ahead and poke it back in. Now I have my rectangle, and I want to add pleats on the outside edges, on the short edges of the rectangle, and I want those every 1 inch. So I'm just going to take my pen and mark every inch. This pen I'm using is called a friction pen, and it erases when you iron it, so it'll just disappear once it gets washed with heat or anything like that. And I'm going to also mark the other side, every 1 inch. Doesn't have to be precise. I think these rectangles, once you turn them inside out, are about 7.5. I just kind of try to start marking the 1 inch down at the same point. Okay, so then I'm going to take my 1 inch marks, and I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger. I usually wouldn't do this, but just for the sake of seeing it on the video. And I'm going to take my 2 marks and I'm going to make them kiss, and then fold them down. And take a straight pin and pin right through that. Take my next 2 marks, make them kiss, fold it down. Next 2 marks, make them kiss, fold it down. So that's just making it so that the masks have enough space for a face to fit into. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to take the first 2 marks, make them kiss. And I just want to make sure when I fold them down that I'm folding them in the same direction as the other side. If you don't do that, it tends to make a kind of a funky, wonky mask. So I don't want to do that. Fold it down. Last 2. Fold it down. All right, and so I'm just going to check my work, pull it flat, and it looks pretty nice like that. Looks pretty straight. So I know I did a pretty good job there. Okay, so now I'm going to take, I have elastic. It's 7 inches long, and I'm going to take one edge of the elastic and just poke it down inside the hole that we have here. I want to get it down in there. I'm going to use my tweezers for this. You want to get in there at least a 1/4 of an inch, somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 of an inch. And once I've got it in there, I'm going to just pin it in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same on the other end. You want to make sure this doesn't twist. The idea is it just loops over your ears. And if it was twisting, it might be annoying to wear. And I'm going to do that on the other side. Using pliers, or I mean these tweezers, really does help. So if you have a pair of tweezers, it is helpful. But you could also just stick it, poke it in with any kind of somewhat sharp instrument, probably. Or your fingers. Okay, all right, so I have it all pinned up and ready to go. So I'm going to take it to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew all the way around with about 1/8 of an inch on the outside edge of the mask. Oh, I lost my guy already. See, this is what you don't want to have happen when somebody's wearing it. Now it's for real in there. Right. I'm going to kind of just go back and forth a little bit over the elastic just to make sure I really got it. And before I get to each of the pins in the pleats, you can see I'm pulling it out because you don't want to accidentally hit a pin. Going back and forth over that corner again. All the way around. And we're done. It's all done. Ta-da!